In today's video, I'm going to share with you an amazing AI-powered editing tool that has transformed my headshot photography business. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, my name is Dan Quintero and I make videos to help you improve your photography skills, whether you're a beginner, an enthusiast, or a professional. And today I want to talk about editing because I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with editing. On the one hand, I can spend hours, days, or even weeks working on an image, but those are usually images that I'm creating for myself, for my portfolio, or commercial work or advertising work that I create for my clients. And those are typically low volume images, or it might even be just the one image. And when I'm doing that type of work, I can lose myself in Photoshop. I'm a big fan of Photoshop and I love doing that sort of work. And then there's my headshot photography clients. And that's volume work. And it isn't unusual to have 200 or even 300 images that need to be retouched. And honestly, that type of work just does my head in. It's repetitive, it's tedious, and you're doing the same thing just over and over, and I just don't like it. And honestly, I've tried using tools that claim to be able to do this type of editing for you, but to be honest, none of them really deliver the quality that I need for my clients. They just look amateurish. And then a couple of months ago, a company called Evoto got in touch with me to see if I wanted to check out their new software. I had heard about it, but I never actually used it. And after testing it for a week, I was using it on my own clients, and now it's part of my business. All my headshot photography clients get edited using this tool. It produces what I consider professional level retouching, but what I like about it the most is that you can really control the way that you use it. You can dial it up, you can dial it down, and you can get it looking exactly the way that you like it. So rather than just talk about it, I'm just going to show you the main features of the software. And later in the video, I'm going to show you how you can get a free bonus when you sign up with them. But we'll get to that a little bit later in the video. For now, let's jump onto the computer and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so here we are inside of Evoto. This is what it looks like when you first launch it. I should point out, it's not a plugin, it's a standalone program. So this is not a plugin for Photoshop or Lightroom. In a way, it actually competes with Lightroom because it does a lot of the things that Lightroom does. And in some cases, it does a lot more. The first thing that you need to do when you first launch it is to create a project. This is where we're going to import our images. And we do that by clicking on this button here and giving the project a name. I'm just going to call it test project. And then I'm going to click on save. And that's going to bring me to this window, which is where I can drag my images into this window in order to import them. I've got some images that I've prepared earlier that I'm going to bring in here. So I'm just going to drag and drop them. And as you can see, it brings them into the application. I've got a selection of photos down here. These are the ones that I've imported, and this is how you can navigate from one image to another. I've got a selection of images in here that I wanted to show you just how it handles the different image types. So in here, I've got some TIFF files, some JPEG files, and I've also got some RAW files. So it will open up pretty much anything. So I figured that the best thing to do is to show you an actual edit. So I've got this stock image that I've downloaded, and we're going to have a go at editing this photo. I've not practiced this before, so if we run into any problems, then we'll try and figure them out together. I've also got some other images down here because there are specific things in Evoto or specific functions that I want to show you, and I need different sort of body types and face types in order for you to be able to see it. So we're probably going to be switching back and forth between images, but we're going to have this as our main edit, and we're going to see how far we can push this image and how good we can get it looking. First of all, let's start off with the interface. You'll notice on the left hand side, we're going to start over here. You've got your presets. These work like presets work in every other application, so I'm not going to go into these. There's a selection of them in there, so I do encourage you to, when you download Evoto, to go in there and play around with the presets. They're a lot of fun. But more importantly, there is a section here where you can create your own presets. And this is important, and I am going to show you how to create your own presets, but it's important for another reason, but we will get to that a little bit later in the video. You've got some tools up here, and these are actually quite useful. The first one is the this little arrow that you see here. This is the reset button. So when you click on that, it will just reset the image to its original state. So just as when you first brought it in there. But you've also got this little drop down arrow next to it. And if you click on that, then you are able to just reset certain components or certain categories of effects that you've applied onto the image, which is really nice. It means that you don't lose everything. If you just want to redo your color, then you could just go in and reset the color effects. So that's quite handy. The next tool that you've got there is the hand, and this is just simply a navigation tool. When you click on that, your scroll wheel on your mouse turns into a zoom sort of scroll wheel, which is really handy. And then if you click and hold, you can move around in the image. So this is really intuitive, and it's very easy to navigate your way around the image. So you can zoom in and zoom out really quickly, and then just find the right spot. Then you've got your liquefy tool. And when you click on this, you'll notice that on the right-hand side, it changes to a subset of tools. Again, this is to fine-tune the function of the liquefy tool. So you've got your sliders here where you can control things like your density and the size of your brush. And then you've got other things in here which turn or switch the function of liquefy from pushing, for example, to say enlarging or shrinking, that sort of thing. I'm going to cancel here because we're not going to do any of that on this girl. And then finally over here we've got the healing tool, which is the healing brush. Essentially it works exactly the same way as it does in Lightroom and Photoshop. When you click on it, you get your little brush, and you can go in there and just click on something and it will get rid of it. I should point out something that's really nice about Evoto is that they seem to have kept the format, the standard sort of format that we have inside of the Adobe platforms, which is the size of the brush can be controlled with the bracket keys. So you can make them bigger and you can make it smaller. That's really nice, so that then you don't have to remember a whole bunch of, or learn a whole bunch of different keyboard shortcuts. And then finally, let me actually cancel out of here. So we're going to cancel, and then we'll confirm that, yes, let's get out of there. I'll show you, there's a little home button up here, and that takes you back to all of your different projects. So then you can just double click and go back to your the projects. So we'll go back to this girl's portrait, and then we're going to look at the tools on the right hand side. You'll notice that there are some icons in here on the right and the far right. There's 6 of them. And when you click on these, it opens up a category of tools, a collection of tools that are categorized in a logical form. You've got things in the top one which they call the color adjustments, but really you can do a lot more than just colors. In here you can do pretty much anything that you would find in any sort of quality editing platform. So you've got things like exposure, contrast, brightness, highlights, shadows, all that sort of stuff. And then if you scroll down, you've got these different categories in here, like you've got curves, for example. Some people like to use curves, including myself. You've got your HSL sliders where you can control hue, saturation, luminance, and then color grading, detail, all that sort of stuff. So everything that you would expect to find is here. Now I will just collapse these groups for a second so that I can show you up here where you've got this section here, which is the color looks. And if you click on that, it's going to show you some what looks, I guess they kind of look like presets, but they're a little bit smarter than that. So they behave the same way as a preset. So for example, if you like this Arctic blue look, then if you click on that, it applies it to the image, but it does more than just apply a filter over the top of it. It does it in a very sort of smart way, and it behaves a little bit like a LUT, a lookup table, if you've ever used one of those. And you've got a slider, of course, so you can dial it in if you want more of the effect or you want less of the effect. So you can have a lot of fun with these. I don't use them very often, I've got to be honest, but you can have a lot of fun with them. So I'm just going to undo that. We're going to close that. And I'm not going to go through every single tool, by the way. I'm just going to go through the main ones because otherwise the video would be, it would be hours long. But I do encourage you to download a copy and try them for yourself. The second icon that you can see here, this is the one that I get excited about because this is the one that I use a lot of the time. Most of the time I'm in here. So I'm going to click on that one, which is portrait retouching. And again, I'm just going to collapse these groups for a second so that I can show you up on the top here. As you can see, it does an analysis of the image and it tries to determine what kind of person you've got there. So in this case, we've got a female, and you've got all these other categories. And this is not just simply sort of the program showing off that it can tell what kind of person it is. What it does is, I'll just open this up again. If you go from a female to a child, you'll notice that the tools change because you've got different things that apply to different people. So this is the purpose of having this category or this person type up on the top. Now, of all the times that I've been using it, it's gotten this right every single time. But I suppose that if it does get it wrong, all you have to do is just click on the right tile, and the right tools are going to appear. The first one that we've got is this Freckle and Acne. So let's zoom in a little bit on her face, okay? And we're going to activate this by sliding the slider to the right. We're going to go to about 50%. I'm going to exaggerate a lot of these edits, by the way, just so that they come across in the video. Otherwise, the changes can be a little bit subtle and they don't come across in video YouTube, due to the YouTube compression. So when I activated that slide, you'll notice that the bottom slides activated as well. So these are normally grayed out. If this is on 0, you can't move these around. But if you activate this one, again, let's bring it back to 54, then these are activated. And the cool thing about this is that it allows you to control freckles and acne separately. So if I wanted to, in this case, it's gotten rid of the freckles and the acne, but if I wanted to, for whatever reason, bring the acne back, I don't know why you would ever want to do that, but I can slide the one to the left, and you can see that little pimples come back, but the freckles have not, okay? And vice versa, I can bring this way and then bring the freckles back. Now, she doesn't have a lot of freckles, but you can see, I'll zoom in here, you can see a freckle there and a freckle there. And if I just get rid of them, they're gone, and then I can bring them back by putting this back to 0. So it gives you really, really good control over this this part or this tool. Let's move on to the next one, which is body blemish. I've only got a headshot of this girl, but I can see like the top sort of chest area here. So she doesn't need any editing on that. I've got another image in here that might be a little bit better. This is just someone that's just a little bit older. And so we're going to zoom in on the body, and then we're going to slide this to the right all the way to 100 just to see what it does, okay? As you can see, it smooths it out and gets rid of a lot of that imperfection. So obviously you would never take it all the way up to 100, but I'm just doing that just so that I can show you what the tool actually does. Let's bring this back to 0 again and switch back to our actual edit that we're doing. So that was the body blemish. Next, we've got face shine. And as you can see here, we've got a little bit of a shine on the nose. Okay, it's a little bit of, sometimes you get a little bit of oily skin, and so you get a bit of a shine with the lights, and also on the cheek and just up here as well. So again, we're going to crank this up to 100, and it should get rid of all of it, and it does a really good job. This looks really natural. So, but we're not going to take it up to 100. Let's bring it back a little bit. Again, this is way more than I would normally add, but let's give it, let's go to 62. And then you got face, forehead, wrinkle. Obviously, she doesn't have anything in there, so there's no point in applying it there. Let's go back to our alternate edit. And she's got a couple of wrinkles in there, so let's see what it does there. So again, we're going to go all the way to 100. And as you can see, it gets rid of them. But you'll notice that it's kept the texture of the skin. So this is the thing that I like about this product. It's finally getting to a point, or it's gotten to a point now, where it does a really good edit. It doesn't look fake. It looks like, this looks like when I do an actual manual edit. Okay, when I do it myself, this is as good as I can get it to look. So that's why I've started using this in my business now. So let me turn that back off again so you can see that. Okay, so that you got your wrinkles back, and then let's go and switch that back to 100, and you can see how it disappears and what a nice job it does. Okay, let's go back to our edit image again. So eye wrinkle, she doesn't have a lot of eye wrinkles, but let's just apply it anyway because we want to get it. She's got a little bit of tiny little wrinkles in here. You would never get rid of those, but we're going to try and sort of soften them up a little bit. So let's crank the eye wrinkle all the way to 100. As you can see, it's just did a tiny little amount on the bottom of the eyes. So we're going to leave it at 100. And then you've got the dark circle slider. So let's crank this all the way as well. And as you can see, that's actually worked really nicely. Let me turn that off again. You can see this section here. Let me zoom right into that. You can see there's a little bit of dark section there. And just over here, you can see it more on the left eye here. So let's go to all the way to 100. And that's cleared that right up. I'm going to leave that at 100. The next one, glasses glare. This has saved me hours of work. Every once in a while, I will photograph someone and I will, with glasses, and I'll have some glare and I would have forgotten to take a reference shot. So if you do any sort of portrait work or headshot photography or anything like that, you know that if you've got someone in front of you that's wearing glasses, you should always take one photo without glasses so that you've got something that you can reference at a later stage, but sometimes you just forget. So I've got a photograph here of someone with glasses with some glare in there. So we're going to try and get rid of this using just the slider. Again, we're going to crank it all the way up to 100 and let's see what it does. And it does a beautiful job at this. So this looks really natural. And again, as good as I could probably get it to look if I was doing this manually. Only it would take me like a good half an hour to get it to this point. So again, let's turn it off and we'll turn it back on. Okay, so you can see how well that works. Okay, let's leave that on there and go back to our edit. And if you want to see how far we've gone with this edit already, we can click the before and after shot or before and after tool here. So we go before, after. Let me zoom in so you can see. We've got before, after. So it's looking much better, much better. Okay. Where are we up to? We did the glasses glare. Now we're going to look at the eye bags. Again, she doesn't need a lot of work in there, but let's see if we can get it to look any better. I'm going to go all the way up to 100 again. And again, it cleans it up. It just freshens it up. It doesn't look fake. It looks like it's giving people a rested look. Okay, we're going to bring it back a little bit though. I think maybe somewhere around there, maybe even a little bit lower. Let's go to 56. And then lower eyelids, it allows you to then control where the effect is placed. So we're going to go to about, I think, there. That looks good at 51. Again, let's do before and after, before, after, looking much better. Okay, smile lines. The smile lines are this section here, just below the cheek, where you get a little bit of a shadow. Okay, so on both sides, let's have a look to see what it does if we take that up to 100. As you can see, it softens that up. We're not going to take it up to 100. We're going to bring it back to maybe 63 or something like that. Let's leave it there at 64. And then we've got neck wrinkle, but she doesn't have any neck wrinkles. In fact, let's have a look at this other photograph. There's a couple of neck wrinkles in there. Let's see what this effect does on this photograph. Let's bring it all the way up to 100. As you can see, they're gone. And again, it's kept the texture of the skin. It hasn't done anything funky with the skin or with the color of the skin. It's worked really well. Again, let's go to, actually, in fact, let's bring it back to 100 and I'll just use the before and after shot. So we've got before, after, before, after, before, after. Much better. Okay, what do we have next? Let's go back to our edit. We've done the neck wrinkle, the double chin. She doesn't have a double chin, so there's no point in doing that. And in fact, none of the photographs that I've got have a double chin, so we're not going to bother with that. And armpit fat. I mean, that is just getting ridiculous, the amount of control that this app gives you. I don't know whether I've got anything here. There's a tiny little bit here. That's what they're referring to, this bit here. So you know what? Let's go in and see what it does if we crank this all the way to 100. And it doesn't, I don't think it does anything. Let's have a look. it's not doing anything because there isn't really any armpit fat in there, right? But if there was, it would actually reduce that and soften some of the lines. So let's go back to, again, our edit. And then you've got things like stomach stretch marks. Again, we can't really demonstrate in this one because she doesn't, it's not a full length shot. But that is all of the tools inside of the blemish removal. And as you can see, if I collapse that, we've got all these other tools available. Okay, so we've got skin retouching next. Let's have a quick look in there. Smoothing of the skin, that's the first one. Let's do that on this person here because we might be able to see it here better. Let me zoom in a little bit and let's just crank that up to, let's go up to 100 to see what it does. And as you can see, it does do a nice job. It's too much, obviously, but it's doing this skin smoothing using dodge and burn, which is my preferred way of doing it. It looks much more natural and it keeps the texture of the skin. Obviously, this is too much. Let's bring it back a little bit. So for someone like her, I'd probably keep it at about there. That looks quite natural. Let's do it before and after, before, after, before, after. Have a look at the jaw, just on the side of the jaws. You'll be able to see before, after, before, and after. So dodge and burn plays with the luminance of the pixels, so it makes things darker or brighter to try and balance out the skin. So the other thing, you've got skin smoothing, another just a regular skin smoothing slider. Let's move that all the way to the right. And this is where you start seeing what you traditionally see with other applications. Now it looks fake. Okay, I've gone too far on this, and I would never go anywhere near the value that I've got here, 73. In fact, I probably wouldn't even apply this, to be honest. I just would remain with the dodge and burn slider above it. And then below that, you've got the same effect, but for the body rather than the face. So you can do the face and the body separately, which is nice. Okay, let's go back again to our normal edit. You've got some skin textures that you can apply over the top of your subject. Again, experimental, and you can use this to have a little bit of fun. I don't use it, but if you click on that one, it's going to turn the skin to a sort of matte, not reflective sort of skin. Then you've got the satin, which is going to be a little bit shinier, and then you've got dewy, which is super shiny, and you can go and fine tune these using these sliders. Again, I don't use these, so I'm going to click on none and leave that alone. And then you've got clarity down the bottom, and then you've got skin color. So here is where you can fine tune the color of the skin, and you've got some swatches here that you can use to apply that over the top of it. So if you click on that, for example, that goes quite sort of red, or that goes quite pale. We're not going to do any of that, so we're going to click on no. And then you've got your temperature, which acts like the temperature. Okay, so to the right it goes warm, and then it goes cool to the left. Double click on any of the sliders, by the way, in order to get them back to 0. Again, just like most of the other applications that you're probably used to. Skin radiance. This is quite nice. I'm not sure what it's doing. I've tried to work it out, and I can't quite work it out. It's like it's doing some sort of exposure increase, but it's doing it selectively, and it looks kind of cool. I've got to say, I kind of dig this effect. So we're gonna use a little bit of that, and I think we're gonna keep it about 22. I think rosy complexion. I don't use this at all. It just turns everything pink. I don't know what it's supposed to do, but yeah, I don't use it. Okay, let's close this that grouping there. Facial reshape. I don't use this. I've got to be honest. I would probably use liquify. However, it is here if you want to use it. This is where you can sort of increase the size or decrease the size, or push parts of the body either to the left or to the right. I'll just show you what I meant. So in the face here, I can use the slider to change the shape of the person. It does both sides at the same time, but if you click on this little icon here, you can unlock it, and then you can just you can just do one side. Again, I don't really use this, but you've got a whole bunch of different things that you can go in and play around with, and it will change the shape of these things. Again, you can just experiment with these. That's facial reshape. Facial expression, again, I didn't use this either. There's only one tool in here. And if you slide this to the right, you'll get a slight smile, okay, as you can see. Okay, now you would never use this all the way to the top. It looks ridiculous, okay, and super fake. But if you wanted to just give it a little bit of a hint of a smile, if I go before and after, you will see that it's a tiny, tiny little smile. If you wanted to do that, you could do that. We're going to leave it at 0. Let's close that one. Then we've got teeth touch-up. Unfortunately, I don't have any photos of teeth. I wish I did, but I don't. What about this one? Oh, there's some there. Let's see if I can, let's see if this is a blurry photograph. It's taken with an iPhone, but let's see if it does it. If I go to teeth whitening, you can see that it is working quite nicely. Okay, so I'll leave it about there, and then I'll do it before and after. Let's go before, after, before, after, before, after. You can see that it's actually doing it quite nicely. Anyway, let's not spend too much time on that. Let's go back to our normal edit. We'll close the teeth grouping, and then we're going to go to the eyes. This I do use, but I use a very sort of subtle way. The brightness of the eyes, again, you can control here. You can see that. Let me go in so you can see that. Okay, that looks a little ridiculous. She looks a little bit sort of alienish. Let's go back left, but you can see the effect that it's having on the eyes. We're going to bring that up just a tiny little bit, okay? And in this case, I want to bring up the left eye a little bit more than the right eye, so I'm going to unlock the tool and bring the tool, bring the brightness on the left eye a little bit more. And then you've got things like the iris, so you can fine-tune those. Sclera, I believe that's how you pronounce it, which is the white part of the eye. And then you've got your eye reflection, which is the actual, the reflection of your light, okay? So your catch lights. So, and then you've got your iris flare, okay? So that also down the bottom, you can see that that's making a nice difference down there. Eyeglass glare, they bring it back in here, which is kind of nice because then it means that you don't have to go back to the other set of tools in order, since you're working on the eyes, you can just get rid of the reflections on the glasses. And then this little one here, which is removing red veins. You can see there's a few little red veins here on the left-hand side. If I bring that all the way to the right, it gets rid of them. However, eyes are supposed to have veins, and so I'll just bring that back maybe to about 55, and that looks a little bit more natural. Okay, so let's see what we've got so far. Let's do it before and after. Before, after, before, after, before, after. Looking much better. Now, if you, for whatever reason, have a photograph that doesn't have any catch lights, again, it's super cool feature. You can go in and add catch lights, and you've got a selection of different ones in here, and you can go in and actually tune them. So if you apply one of them, like this one here, for example, then you can do a bunch of different adjustments in here, how bright, whereabouts in the eye you want them, all that sort of stuff. Very, very cool. But I shoot with lights, so all of my portraits have catch lights in them. So we're going to click on none. And then we're going to, let's close the eyes, grouping. Let's go to makeup. I don't use this, but it's a lot of fun to play around with. And so you can go in there and add things to the face. Contour looks actually kind of cool. It gives it a little bit of shape to the face. And you've got things like eyebrows, so you can make them darker or lighter. So I'm not going to go through these. You can go and play around with them. You've got eye makeup, lip makeup, all that sort of stuff. So you can play around with that. Hair, I do use the hair thing. She's got really nice hair. She's got a few strays in here, and they don't really bother me because I think it kind of suits the hairstyle. But if you wanted to, you can move this slider to the right, and it will get rid of a lot of the stray hairs that you've got that could be sort of distracting, in a photograph. But like I said, I like the stray hairs in this one. I think it kind of looks cool, but you can go in there and fine tune that. And then you've got let me close this. You've got your full body reshape, and a little bit like what we were looking at before with the face, where you can squeeze things and make things bigger and smaller. You've got exactly the same thing, but you can do it to the whole body. Okay, so you've got waist, breasts, arms, all sorts of things, play around with this. Again, a lot of fun. It could be useful, but use it, be subtle when you use that. Anyway, that is the portrait section. Now, as you can see, there's way more things. So I'm going to go really quickly through the rest of them so that this video doesn't go on forever. Let's click on the next one, which is the background adjustments. And this I do use. Okay, so this allows you to change the background of the photograph really, really quickly. So if I wanted this photograph on gray, on a lighter gray, I just click on that and it switches the backdrop, or I go to white, or I get rid of the backdrop altogether, or I go to something like this. So this is very, very cool. And it gives you some sliders down the bottom here where you can adjust that if it doesn't look quite right. The other thing that I like is you've got this section here called My Backdrops. Very cool, because then you can upload photographs of your actual backdrops. So this is the one that I use here. So I keep that there because I shoot all of my clients using this backdrop. So you can upload a file and then it's accessible to you. So that's very, very cool. I will also show you two functions they're actually two different ways to achieve the same thing, which is cleaning up your backdrop. One of the things that you'll notice is, I'll just change photographs for a second. One of the things you'll notice if you shoot on white seamless is that sometimes you'll get creases or bends in the paper like this one here, or maybe you might get some stains from footprints. So I'll show you this other one here. You can see that in this photograph, for example, there is some smudging in the paper. This will happen as you start using the paper because people will obviously stepping on it. So you're going to get some transfer of dirt and also maybe some tears. And one of the things that Evoto does is it makes it really easy to fix the backdrop. You've got two different things that you can do. I apply both of them. The first one is the clean solid backdrop. So when I click on this button, I switch it on, you'll notice that if you just ignore the watermarks, you'll notice that those stains are gone. Okay, I'll switch it off. And you can see just over here, for example, on the left-hand side, you've got a line there. That when I click on that, the line disappears. So there is on, and that's off, on, and off. The other thing that you can do is the removal of color banding. And for that, I'm going to show you a different photograph. So we'll go back to this one here. So keep an eye on the backdrop. That's what we're looking at the moment. You see this big line here. Obviously, there's a big sort of crease in the paper. So again, I'm going to enable the clean solid backdrop function. And when I do that, that line is almost gone. But then I also enable the color banding removal. And when I do that, you'll see that the backdrop now works. That works really, really nicely. The backdrop is nice and clean. So let's do it before and after. So we've got before, after, before, after, before, and after. And as you can see, it still retains all of the shadows, which is a really, really nice functionality. You've got sky replacement. Obviously, I just shoot people 99% of the time, so I don't have any photos in here with any landscape photos or anything like that. But if you did, you've got the regular tools that you can that you wouldn't find somewhere in some other applications, where it allows you to go in and change the skies and then fine tune it and all that sort of stuff. So we're not going to go into that. Okay, so next we're going to be working on clothing, and we do that by clicking on this icon here. And I don't have a photograph to show you this one, so I'm going to import a new photograph, and I wanted to do this so that you can see how easy it is to add additional images to Evoto. All you got to do is simply just grab your new image and just drag over to the screen, and it will import the image for you. And as you can see, we've got a stock image here of someone that is wearing a white t-shirt, and you can see that it's got some wrinkles in there. So in here, this is where we're going to try and remove or at least smooth out some of these wrinkles, and we do that using the clothing adjustment slider. Very cool. Again, I'm going to crank this to 100 so you can see the difference. You got before and after. As you can see, it's almost like magic. Now that does look a little unnatural, so what we're going to do is bring it back just a little bit, because clothing naturally has some wrinkles. Okay, so we're going to leave it at about there, I think. And then you'll notice that when we moved this slider, it activated the sliders below that. So we've got fine wrinkles and coarse wrinkles. So let's have a look at this. We're going to take the fine wrinkles all the way to the left. So we're going to turn them off, and you can see they come back. So we're going to bring this up to 100, and then we're going to do the same thing with the coarse wrinkles. So that's at 0, and that is at 100. So I'm going to say that probably around about there, and then maybe crank that up a little bit more, maybe there. And I think that that looks a lot nicer. So again, let's have a look at the before, after. So a really nice, super quick way to fix wrinkles in clothing. And as you can see, it looks really natural. Okay, so we've had a look at the first four categories of tools. Then we've got the cropping tool, and this is pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to crop your images to whatever size you want, and you've got a bunch of different aspect ratios that you can pick from in here, and you can also add your own as well. You've got some tools in here as well that allow you to rotate the image either to the left or to the right, flip it horizontally or vertically, or you can angle it one way or the other. Again, I'm going to double click on that and reset that. I'm going to cancel this. The last tool here is the tethered shooting tools. Now, I am not going to cover that on this video. I'm going to do a dedicated video because if you guys follow my channel, you know that I'm a massive fan of shooting tethered, and I've done a lot of videos on how to shoot tethered using Lightroom and Capture One. However, this tool, I've not tested that functionality yet, but I really want to dive deep into the features that you have when you're shooting tethered, because I want to see whether it's a real alternative to something like Capture One or Lightroom. And if it is, then potentially this is something that could be a lot cheaper than something like Lightroom and Capture One. So we're going to leave that for another video. And if you want to see that, make sure that you do subscribe, because I'm going to be doing that over the next few weeks. The other thing that I wanted to point out is we talked about the presets earlier on. So one of the things that you can do is once you've done your edit, such as the one that we've got here, let's go back to our portrait retouching. I don't believe I was just going to see if we needed to change anything else, but I don't think I will change anything else. I think I like this edit. It's looking quite nicely. We're going to do a before and after. That's what we started off with, and then that's where we are now. So before and after, it's looking much better. And what we can do now is we can save the preset. So if we click on the save preset, it allows us to select the things that we want to include in our preset. So we can exclude certain things. And then all we have to do is we give it a name. So we call it, say, test preset, and then it allows you to then put it inside of a group, and also to set what kind of preset type it is. So we're going to have a combination because we're using a bunch of different things. We're going to click on save, and it's going to do its thing and save. And then if I click on my presets, it should be somewhere in there, which is called the test preset, because I put it into this live property group that I've already got in there. So that's kind of cool, because what it means is that then you can go in and apply this preset to a bunch of different photographs at the same time. And if you shoot the way that I do, which is my lights are controlled. Every person that I shoot, that I do headshots for, has the same backdrop. I use the same shutter speed, the same f-stop. I use the same lights. I don't really change my lights around too much. So I mean, I'll change my lights, but it depends on my subject. Once I pick out a light for a particular person, I won't change the lights. And so what it allows me to do is that once I edit the first image, I can then apply that as a batch to the rest of the images. And that saves you like hours and hours of work. So that is really cool. Now, let's just say that in here, I wanted to apply the edit that we just performed on this lady onto, say, this lady over here. Now, obviously they're different photographs, so it's going to look a little bit different, but all I would have to do is if I click on my test preset, it's going to go and it's going to go do its thing. And as you can see, it's changed the backdrop and it's done all of the other things that we did for the original edit. So let's have a look at before and after, and even here it does look quite good and quite natural. Obviously it doesn't really it's pushed too far for this person, but you get the idea. If I had 20 images of this girl, then I could just edit the whole thing very quickly by clicking, one button, I could do 20 images in probably under a minute. So that's a really, really good feature. The last thing I want to talk about is exporting your images, because that is something that is directly related to the pricing structure that Evoto uses. So one of the cool things and I really like this about Evoto, is that they give you the software for free. Okay. And it's not like a lockdown version or anything like that. When you download the software, you get the full working version. Not only that, but they will give you 5 credits to use on or as part of your download. So what are credits? Well, every time that you export an image, it uses up 1 credit. So you can do all your edits as you've seen me do just now, and there's no charge for that. But the minute that I want to export the photograph, I need to use 1 credit so that I can run the export. And I think that's really, really cool, because it allows me to go in and really experiment with the software to see if it's really right for me. Now, what they've done is they've done something really cool, which is they've given me a link that I can provide to you, where if you register and download the software using the link that I give you, then they're going to give you 30 credits. And that's going to be more than enough for you to be able to determine if this is the right application for you. And if you do decide that this is for you, like I've been using this now for 2 months. I initially tried it out as part of a test because I wanted to test out and do a review of the product. But I think within a couple of days, I was using it on my client images. And this is now going forward my tool of choice. All of my images get edited using this platform. And this is the pricing structure that they have. So you can purchase 1,200 credits, and it comes to somewhere around 7 cents per image, which again is very, very competitive. I know that when I was sending out my images for retouching, I was paying somewhere around $6 to $10 US dollars per image to get retouched. So this is a much more not only economical way of doing it, but also because of the turnaround time, I can get my images done maybe within half an hour after the shoot is finished, and then they're ready to go. There's no waiting period. So I really like that. The other reason I like this is because it means that I only pay when I'm using the software. If I don't use the software for 2 years, there's no subscription to keep up with. All I have to do is when I return, I can just download the latest version of the software and my credits will still be there. So I haven't spent a bunch of money keeping open a subscription just in the event that I might use the software. So I really like that pricing structure. However, when you download the software, you will be given 5 credits as part of the download process when you do it for the first time. But Evoto have been kind enough to give me a special link. So if you register and download the software using the link in my description, they're going to give you 30 credits. And that's going to be more than enough to be able to determine if this is the right product for you. And also you probably have enough to be able to start working on some of your client images, which is really, really great. So if you are interested in using the program, do make sure to use the link in this description so that you can get your extra credits. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to click the like button, and also make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And as promised, I have a free bonus for you. If you use the link in the description to register with Evoto, they're going to give you 30 free credits, which is more than enough to try it out to see if this is something that's going to work for your photographer. And if you have any questions about anything that I covered in here today, just leave them in the comments section below, and I'll be more than happy to help you where I can. Anyway, that's everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.